So in this next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to install the Photocell. And for this example, I'm going to use this part number 445002-01 proximity Photocell. And this is the kit. Inside the kit comes with the adapter, the cable, and the actual Photocell 2. So the tools needed are basically a flat-bladed screwdriver to open up the cabinet and a 3/4 wrench or 2 3/4 wrenches to actually fit it to the side of the unit. Let's open up the cabinet here like that. So on the side we have the different knockouts, and you'll see the top two. One is an encoder and the other is a photocell. To fit the encoder is exactly the same as the photocell, so you may as well use this tutorial for both. However, the encoder does plug into a different outlet on the circuit board. So we're going to go ahead and fit the photocell, which is this back one here. And to fit that, I'm going to go ahead and knock out the little plug here. So with the little plug outsider here now, I can go ahead and find in my kit the part that looks like this. And this is the adapter plug that screws in the side here. And then the little fly lead plugs into the actual circuit board of the CPU. So take this out of the bag, and then what you'll also find in the bag, there is a serrated washer and also a plug that goes in if you're not using the photocell to screw into the plug to make it watertight. So the actual fly lead comes, it's a little plug with a Molex adapter on the bottom end of it, and then there's a small bag that has a sealing washer, a little rubber sealing washer, and the nut. So take those out of the bag. So the sealing washer goes on first, and then we put on the serrated washer. So if you look at the socket, I don't know whether you can see this, but it has a little locating slot at the top there. Try and put that at the top. It's not critical, but it helps later on when you're trying to plug the actual photocell in. So slide this through the hole, put the locking nut onto it, and then with the two wrenches, again, they're 3/4 wrenches. You're going to put one on the inside, and then just don't over tighten this. Just nick it up so it's not too tight. So on the inside here, now we've fixed the socket to the chassis. We have two photocells in here. I don't know whether you can see this, but we have one that says J17, which is PE2, photocell 2. And then we have one that's J14 for PE1. We're going to plug this in PE1 for J14. So on the actual socket, you will see there's a catch on the side here, and then on the plug you'll see there's a quick release snap. So make sure you get it in the right way around. That quick release snap goes onto the side, the left hand side, and then when you plug it in you'll hear that click when that catches hold, and that's in place. And that's how to connect a photocell. So now we're going to go ahead and fix the photocell to the plug on the side here, and screw the photocell to the side of the print head using the print head U-bracket. So we've fitted the outlet to the side of the printer to plug the photocell into. And now what we're going to do is mount the photocell on the side of the U-bracket here, so that as the product comes from right to left, the photocell will trip first and then the printer will print. Now, I always like mounting the photocell on the print head itself, purely because if anybody moves the print head, then the photocell moves with it. So the delay setting for the offset of tripping and printing is going to be identical no matter where you put it. So this is the bracket that normally we would fit the print head housing in here. Print head would go into the top, and then I'm mounting the photocell on the side. Now in with the kit comes the actual photocell and also the screws for mounting it. So we're going to take the photocell out of here. So there's the bag of screws, there's the photocell. So the screws we're using for this are going to be M3x20 countersunk, and we're going to be mounting it so it's on the side like this and pointing down. The problem with doing that is that this top screw now of the clamp is going to be in the way of the actual plug. So I'm going to just remove this top screw, put that to one side, and then what we can do now is we can thread these through one at a time and through the hole. And I'm going to use one of the M3 nuts. Careful not to lose these. Tighten those in. There's the first one. And the second one does the same. And again, it's important not to over tighten these. Just literally nick them up so that they don't rattle loose in production. But they're not. They don't need to be over tight. So that's the photocell mounted. We're going to go ahead now and use the cable. We're going to plug this in. And remember, I was talking about the locating pin at the bottom. It only goes one way. It can be fiddly trying to get it right. Once you've done that, just lock it up with this locking screw, and then the cable can be ran, tie wrapped, tied it up, and then the other end plugged into the outlet that we had in before. And then once that's done, we can go ahead and refit the print head housing, and then mount the print head and set up the parameters for delay, width, and those sort of things. Other end of the cable comes in, and again we've got that inside, we've got that little locating pin. We set that to the top so it's nice and easy to find, and we just screw that in the side like that, nice and tight, and then we can tidy up the cabling with tie wraps. And that is mounting the photocell. Once we have positioned the photocell on the print head bracket and mounted the print head close to the product on the conveyor line, we are ready to set the proximity photocell up. The way that the proximity photocell works is that this little device here is shooting out an infrared beam which reflects off the product, comes back into the receiver of the unit, which makes the signal to give a print go. So if I go ahead and move the product in front of the print head, you'll see that the amber light comes on, and this is giving a clear print go signal to print the message on the bottle. Now, the problem is that if I was to have a product or somebody walking the other side of the conveyor belt, we want to bring this signal right the way down so it's close to the print head. We don't want anybody walking by the other side of the conveyor belt giving a print go signal, because then it would print without a product in front, which would make a mess on the conveyor belt. So the way we adjust this is with a small flat bladed screwdriver, and there's a little adjuster on the back of the photocell right here, and we're going to adjust this. See, I can make it come on or go off, and I can keep bringing the product closer until it comes on and then goes off. So I can fine tune this to where we need to be. So positioning of the product is critical too. You don't want it too far away, because then the print's going to be too big and it's going to be a mess. It's not going to be very legible. So you want it as close as you can. My recommendation is between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch to the product. But then also, if you've got a product with a slight chamfer on or a bevel on the top, you may want to actually adjust the print head so that we're actually printing onto that parallel to the actual product where we're printing. Okay, so we've got a nice clear signal from the photocell when the product goes in front, and we've positioned the product. Now with the guide rails, we can set the guide rails to the product, and it's going to be in the same position every product that comes down. And the very last part of this, we can actually, in the printer itself, in the firmware, we can set the printer whether we're printing on the rising edge, which is the leading edge of the product, or we're printing on the back end, on the fall side of the product. And the way we do that is in the settings for the photocell. So from the home screen, to change the photocell triggering on rise or fall, leading edge or trailing edge of the product, we're going to go into setup, and we're going to go into peripherals and photocells. And at the top right here, we see PE1, photocell 1 trigger. Right now it's set to rise. If I switch it, it's now set to fall. Typically we want it set to rise. We want it tripping on the rising edge, on the leading edge of the product.